Good evening and thank you very much for joining us on Viewpoint here on DBS Television, where our guest speakers bring to you their point of views concerning trending issue. Naturally, today we'll be focused on the Garbo incident that happened on the 14th of February 2020, leaving at least 13 people dead and destroying properties. Let us go right away to welcome our guest speakers on today's edition. Good evening to you, Azanyi Francis Ala.
Good evening, madam.
Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
You're welcome.
And to you, Manga Venashus, it's a pleasure having you today.
Good evening, Vanessa, and good evening to our viewers at home.
Let us go to get a transition, and we will be coming into the first segment of the show, which is the yes or no question. Let us begin right away by taking the first question. Government finally accepts military responsibility for the killings in Garbo. Is there any impact of such an act to the crisis in the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon? I begin with you, Sir Francis.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, he thinks so. Manga Venashus, what of you?
Yes, I think so.
Yes. Question number 2. With the outbreak of COVID-19 in these two regions mentioned earlier in the first question, this will likely be a double crisis for the government to handle. To you, Mr. Francis.
Yes.
Yes. Manga Venashus?
Yes, it will be.
Yes, it will be. Let us take the third question for the day. The Minister of Public Health prohibited the publication of statistics of the infection in Cameroon. Is there any hidden agenda behind such a move? Manga Venashus?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, he thinks there is a hidden agenda. And to you, Sir Francis?
Of course, yes.
He thinks the same. Yes. Let us take the fourth question for today. Given the level at which the fight against COVID-19 is in Cameroon or in Africa, is there any hope for the future, Sir Francis?
Yes, there is hope.
Yes, there is hope. Manga Venashus?
Vanessa, I don't see any hope.
He doesn't see any hope. So that is a no question. And the last question for today's edition. Could Africa become the next epicenter of the virus, given that some business people have been predicting the worst for Africa? Manga Venashus?
No, Vanessa, I don't think so.
No. And to our guest, Sir Francis?
Yes.
Yes, he thinks so. That is it. They've responded to the questions. Let's come back in a jiffy for the debate. Government finally accepts responsibility for the killings in Garbo, and we ask the question, is there any impact of such an act to the crisis in the northwest and the southwest region? Sir Francis said yes, there is an impact. So what could actually be those impacts in these two regions?
The impact in the two regions is that, first of all, they have been going through a series of killings. There have been a lot of mass killings in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon because of the crisis. And the government has always persistently refused that the professional forces are not the cause. Now, if at this time they already refuse that the government soldiers were not responsible for the massacre in Garbo, and now again, after carrying out their investigation, they are proving and accepting that the professional army was involved. It means that the past ones, they were responsible. And so it has a great impact on the population of the two regions because their lost ones, they cannot come back again. Just accepting that they were responsible does not give any leeway to bring back those people who have died. So that is how the population of the two regions have been greatly affected.
All right, but do the compensation that the government is preparing to give to those families and destroying their properties is not going to appease the population?
Vanessa, you know very well that life cannot be commensurable with property. no matter the amount of property those people will be given, it cannot be equated to life. Life is precious. It is a precious gift given by God, and God alone is the one who is responsible for giving life and the one who can take it away. You cannot take away life and then you are coming to compensate. You cannot give life. So what is your compensation for?
Mangevena shoes you of the same fact that there will be an impact of accepting the fact that the military was responsible for the Garbu massacre. You said yes, there will be an impact in these two regions.
Yes, actually, and I was looking at it from this other angle, away from what our guest was looking at it. You know, with the outbreak of this crisis in these two regions, there has been killings, like he said, burning down of villages, and actually, this is what happened in this village, in Garbu village. Now, those who lived the situation, the villagers who were there, they knew what happened. They knew what they went through. And when the government was like refusing that, no, they are not responsible, it is not the military, and tagging them that they are the people, that is, the separatists were the people who killed them, you know, it was like the separatists, you know, annoying them. Vanessa, you know, when somebody tags you something on you, which you know that you did not do it, it becomes so annoying. It is when you do it, and they say you did it, it means nothing to you because that's actually the truth, you did it. But in this case, where they did not do it, and they're saying it is the separatists that burned down the village, that killed those who were there, I think that was where the separatists had to come back and continue attacking, even killing their own people. But I believe, that's what I was thinking since I got this information from yesterday, that when the government is coming out now to accept that, no, it was the military that killed these people, burned down the villages, I think that it would like soften the action or the act by these separatist fighters, because they will now say that it's obvious now. So if you have accepted the fact that you have killed, there's no reason why they should. And I think that they should use this opportunity to come to terms with the crisis that is going. When I talk of affecting it positively, in the sense that they should say, at least like he was saying, human life is precious. Once these people died, these people who were killed, there's nothing we can do to bring them back. So in order to avoid such repeated incidents, and remember, it is not only the Garbu incident. There have been such cases that we have had them in the northwest and southwest regions, and upon accusing fingers have always been pointed on either the military, while the military is pointing on the separatists. So I think that this is the high time now that the two camps should understand that at least somebody has owned up, and I think it's a side of humility to own up that I did it, even by force or by pressure, to own up that they did it. So it's time that they should put down the guns and let us respect that human life that is so precious, like Mr. Allah said.
Thank you very much for your contribution. The second question now is, it focuses on the coronavirus pandemic still in Cameroon, and we are asking the question that the outbreak of COVID-19 in the northwest and the southwest regions will likely double the crisis in those two regions. So Francis, you said yes, it will likely double the crisis.
Now, it will double the crisis in this sense. They have been living in hidings all along, because they run away from the military, they run away from separatists, because they are being attacked from both angles. They are like in a dilemma. They don't know which angle to turn to. Now, with the outbreak of COVID-19, they have been asked to stay home in order to be safe, not to contact this virus. Faced with the two situations, I think it will be a very heavy burden on them to cope with, because all along we know that Mondays there are contra Sundays. They don't go out. They remain home. And now the government has brought in measures to curb the spread of this virus, that people should stay home, although they are free to circulate during the day and only stay at home in the evenings. So it is a kind of situation that is very heavy on the people of these two regions who have been undergoing a political crisis in the country.
All right, but I thought maybe that given the fact that the separatist fighters at least have given a day for the citizens to stay back home, it will, in a positive way, help them to avoid gatherings or going out regularly in order to contain the virus.
Yes. That one too will help them not to contract the virus.
Okay.
But what about their daily living? That's where the problem is.
That's where the problem lies.
If you stay only at home, where will you have your daily nourishment? You must go out in order to get your daily nourishment. By the time that they are supposed to go out, separatists have asked them not to move.
Manga Venashus, do you reason in the same angle with Sir Francis?
Actually, I said the outbreak of the virus will be a double crisis for the government, on the part of the government. Because, you know, the government still has that regalian role to take care of the citizens. Now, with the virus already in the northwest, that is northwest and southwest regions now, because the two crisis regions are already, they already have confirmed cases. The government will not fold their arms and sit. They would have to make sure that these citizens, they are Cameroonians. The government would have to make sure that these citizens, they fight the pandemic. When the outbreak of this virus was announced in Cameroon, there were some voices that there should be a ceasefire from both the military and the separatist camps so that they could tackle this. But that ceasefire did not take effect. I mean, even from the World Health Organization and the United Nations raised this worry that they cannot fight the pandemic in a battlefield. You know, we are talking about citizens who are barely living in bushes, Vanessa. We are talking about citizens who barely have what to eat as food. We are talking about a region that is completely crippled when it comes to economically. Now, coupled with the virus, it will be actually difficult for them to survive. Where would they take water? Where would they take hand sanitizer? All these things, it will be completely difficult. So it will be a double crisis for the government, because the government will make sure that these citizens are safe. It will make sure that these citizens are free from the virus. Now we look at the topographical, situation of this area. Roads have been destroyed. Bridges have been destroyed. So taking a patient, maybe call it from a local, from a village, like in my village in Jakiri, and bringing it maybe to the confinement center in Bamenda will be completely difficult because of the state of the road that is already in this region. Taking victims or virus cases from interior regions and bringing them to the major regional hospital in Bamenda will be completely difficult. So the government will actually have it difficult to handle between the crisis and the pandemic. So I think that they should respect what the world, UN have been asking, that they should call for a ceasefire. Vanessa, when there is a problem, if I accept that I'm going in for a ceasefire and you do not accept, once I see a gun, I will be obliged to take my own gun. There have been some faction of the separatists that actually opted to lay down their arms or opted to respect the ceasefire during this period. But reports that we have from this region is that the fighting is still ongoing. The report we have is that there are still villages that are still being burned. People are still being killed in the midst of this pandemic. So I think it will be a double crisis on the part. I'm looking at it from the part of the government. And
so Francis, you've actually accepted the fact that it will be a double crisis for the government to handle. But then, what could be the way out?
The way out for the government to handle this crisis is no other two ways rather than the general call that the government should withdraw the troops from the northwest and southwest regions. If the troops are out and the leaders of the separatists who have been held bound in prison are released, I think this crisis will come to an end, and then the people will be able to follow the measures given by WHO and the government so that this crisis the spread of this virus cannot penetrate into our society.
Thank you very much for your contributions. If you are just joining us, you're watching Viewpoint on DBS Television Everyday Broadcast at 7 p.m. The third question: the Minister of Public Health prohibited the publication of the statistics of infections as long as coronavirus pandemic is concerned. And we asked the question whether there is a hidden agenda, given that the population will not be informed about the updates of this coronavirus. So, Francis, I remain with you. You said yes, there is a hidden agenda behind this critical decision.
Yes, Vanessa, I think there is a hidden agenda behind the publication of the results of the affected cases. Take, for instance, when they just started publishing the results, the figures were just increasing every day. That created a lot of panic in the population. People were panic, And so everybody was not sure whether he is safe or he is not safe. And so I think if the minister prohibits that those results should not be published any longer, it was to save the lives of these people so that they should not live in constant fear of the unknown. Yeah, the devil is there already. We know the devil, but we don't know who has it and who can give to who. There are so many high blood patients in our country today. Sometimes somebody goes to a hospital, and before you know it, they say they have given the person a drip without even testing of high blood pressure. And before you realize it, the person has given off the ghost. So many of them who have been living in this situation, hearing that majority of those who are dying are the elderly people from 50 upward, those who are around that age, they may just get stressed up and die. Not because they have the virus, but because of the figures that are rising every day. You may just feel that you have it, and that will affect you so much.
But don't you think that rather giving out the figures to the population will make them more conscious and aware of the fact that they need to be rigorous in respecting the barriers in order not to contract the virus?
Yes, they will actually be more conscious, but I think that basing their preoccupation upon giving results will not help stop the spread of the virus, but they should concentrate more on looking for measures that will stop the spread of the virus. I think that is the most important point. Looking for ways on how to treat the cases already affected and how to stop the spread. I think that is more important.
Mangaven assures you of the fact that there is a hidden agenda behind this decision.
Yes, and this hidden agenda, from my own point of view, is, there is something that go with this pandemic. It is that stigmatization. It's just like this HIV/AIDS when it started. Just the mention of the fact that you have AIDS was already a kind of stigma that was given to you, and people were even, and in some localities, people were even, isolating those who were HIV positive. It is the same thing with this pandemic called coronavirus. Once they assume that somebody has the virus, there is this kind of awe, this kind of, strange feeling that people develop around you, around your family, even as a whole. When we look at the way things are being done when it comes to this virus, when there is a corpse, that's the way they handle it, so scaring in such a way that you don't even like to get the name coronavirus. So I think that the ministry prohibiting the publication of these statistics is to let us stop this issue of focusing on how many people have been infected. Let us focus on trying to find out how we can follow the instructions, because like Mr. Allah actually says, when this virus started, it started with one case, two cases added 3, they went over to 5 to 7 to 14, and the rate was tripling as the day was going from 100, we went directly to 300 and something cases. That is how it was multiplying. We are past 1,000 actually, yes, but the situation is, it is no longer, that fear, like he said, is no longer there that the number is increasing. But what he wants us to do is, let us we should be talking about actually how many number of cases have been treated. That makes us to be positive about the virus. What should we do to make sure that we bar the way to the spreading of this virus? That should be what should make news. Let us not concentrate on, because when you give a positive thought to something, you think positive. That's why they say those who are optimists, they will see a half glass and they will call it half full. But those who are pessimists will call it half empty. So the minister wants us to see this pandemic to be positive by looking at how many people have healed. When you look at the situation that comes from foreign countries, France, Italy, Germany, Russia, US, they tell you 800 people died in a day. Vanessa, it is very, very disappointing. When you get 800 people dying in 24 hours, you are just afraid. Now, let us not talk about those who died. Let's talk about those who were healed. Let's not talk about the number that keeps increasing. No, let's talk about what we should do to avoid the pandemic. In that way, we would be able to limit it. Once we are aware, continuously seeing people use your face mask, wash your hands, all this, we would be able to, you know, fight the pandemic. But when we start talking about we are already at 1,200, 1,300. No, we are killing those positive aspects which we could develop, like encouraging people to respect these rules, because the way out of this pandemic as of now is nothing other than respecting the prescribed norms, the measures that have been set by the World Health Organization and the government of Cameroon.
Mange Felashus, I stay with you with question number 4. You completely said no, that there is no way out for the future for Africa or Cameroon at the rate at which the coronavirus fight is going on. Is it that the government is slack? Is it that the citizens are not respecting the various measures?
From both angles, both citizens, both government, is like we are playing. We are not measuring the consequences of this pandemic. And that is why when the outbreak came to Africa, just around 2-3 countries, World Health Organization Director General actually predicted that Africa will see millions dying. So the problem is, given the state of health facilities that we have in Africa, in Cameroon, we are not able to fight. Western countries that are developed, like America, like France, like Italy,
and
they have this kind of sophisticated health facilities, yet they are going through this. What will happen to us? Because the government is like, we are still trying to see. I'm always of the opinion that when the outbreak of this virus started, if, for example, Cameroon decided to say nobody is entering Cameroon, nobody is leaving Cameroon, from that moment, because more than 100 cases, more than 200 cases of those who were detected in Cameroon
came from abroad.
Which means if we blocked them from entering, we might still have been free by now. So I think that the government did not measure the gravity of this, and that is why we are foreseeing that it may be, you know, worse in the next future. That is what that's what we read from the situation on the ground. But then look at it from the part of the population. When we keep saying that, let us respect these measures, what do we have? Vanessa, I was surprised when I passed around the market yesterday. There is no way we can talk of this 100, this 1 meter distancing. There is no way, because when you look at the way somebody just need to cough in the market, and the virus will be the person who was contaminated actually, and it will be released in the market, and you get how many people will be contaminated. We are talking of occasions that bring people together. Like death, like, you know. We should not celebrate, or we should not go for wake keeping and all burial as such, as many as we used to do. But you still see people talking together, sitting and talking. The respect of these measures. How many people wash their hands? How many people wear the mask? We wear the mask to cover the chin and the mouth, and the nostrils are opened. So if the trend that is going on, if serious conscious action is not taken, we may be heading for the worst, actually, Vanessa.
Thank you very much for your contributions. Sir Francis, you were actually of the fact that there is hope for Africa. What are your points to actually think that we might come out of this pandemic without recording the large amount of deaths like the Western world?
I think we can come out of this situation in the sense that those who already have the virus, like the West, they have come out with measures which every human being is supposed to apply. If we Africans, following our government, should respect those rules, close our borders, because that virus did not originate from Africa. If we close our borders, I think that the virus will not even dare to enter Africa. But since our government is so porous, and anything coming from the West, they accept it rather than what is coming from within. That is why they could say that the borders have been locked, but every day you hear planes are landing and taking off. They are landing and taking off. Who is coming and who is going? Those people who have been affected, they will carry the virus and come with it here. And when they bring it, since our society is a type that don't respect rules, everybody will just get the virus. But if from the initial stage, the government has embarked on what they are doing now, like the military, the gendarmes are on the street now with canes, and they see you without putting a face mask, you'll be lashed rather than bundling up to go and lock you up in the cell. It will not help anything.
It will not help anything.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your contributions, Francis. One last word before we go, since we are short of time. one last word to our televiewers that are watching us at this particular moment.
Yes, Vanessa, I would like our televiewers of DBS TV to know that they should stay home, they should stay safe, they should wear their face masks when they are going out, so that all of us together, we should stop the spread of this virus that is plaguing the world.
Mangavena Shoes, on to you.
I share the same opinion like he is saying, and to call on our citizens that our lives are, very precious. And in the course of trying to save your own life first, you will save that of your neighbor. So let us go in for all to trying to save our life. Just make an effort and say this virus will not pass through you in Cameroon. If all Cameroonians say the virus will not pass through me, I bet you Cameroon will be free from this virus. So let's just take that commitment that we are not going to spread, we will not be a vector of this virus, Vanessa.
Dear televiewers, that was it. Hope that you have drawn a lesson from all what our panels this evening have said. Do not forget that the coronavirus is existent in Cameroon, Africa, and the world at large. And so be that person that can make a change, beginning from you, your family, and your community. That was it for today. Stay blessed and keep watching DBS Television.